The second project uses your triangle loom in an unexpected way. After it is warped, turn the triangle upside down. Instead of working from the flat bottom up to the point, we will be working with the point first up to the flat part. We will also be adding a lattice and tassels to the bottom two side angles. Let's begin with the lattice first. Measure pieces of rope or yarn about 2 times the width of the triangle and adding them as raya to the outside warp in pairs, folding the lengths in half and tucking the 2 tails around the back and up through the center of the 2 warp strings. You will also be skipping 1 to 2 warp strings in between each raya knot. The center single warp will also receive a piece of yarn, wrapping the tails around the back and up on either side. Now straighten your fringe down as it would hang if it was hanging on a wall. Tie the bottom length from each pair of raya onto the top length from the pair below it. Do this on either side of the triangle. Create a second row by tying the top length from each pair of raya on the bottom length of the same pair. You will end up with a lattice effect of knots. Feel free to add as many rows of knots as you want. Now fill in the triangle however you like. The tight spaces at the very tip and borders of the triangle work best with thinner yarns woven with plain tabby weaving. The tight spaces at the very tip and borders of the triangle may work best with thin yarns woven with plain tabby using a needle. Then you can add lots of texture in the center. I'm using a combination of neutral colored materials including chunky ropes, soft cottons, and loosely spun rovings. For an extra chunky effect, you can use the knotting technique by knotting straight onto a warp string, weaving tabby for a few warp strings, and then knotting onto another warp string. Feel free to play around with any technique you prefer to create texture or designs within the triangle. I'm also using some wooden beads knotted onto a thin rope, which I will weave throughout the warp so that the beads stick out among the surface of the weaving. If you need to, you can turn the triangle over and work from the bottom edge up to the middle. Just as with the first project, you can play with open spaces among the techniques, relying on the durability of the frame loom to hold everything where you expect it to stay. You can leave the project as it is here, or add extra tassels to the lattice. Simply cut a bundle of lengths of yarn or rope and fold them over the last row of lattice knots. One at a time. Use a foot-long length of yarn to tie a knot tightly around the bundle of yarn below the knot from the lattice. Wrap the tails around the knot and then tuck them down through the center of the bundle using a needle. Trim the tail and the tassel and brush everything out before moving on to the next tassel. Another unique take on this triangle project is to hang the triangle from a stick by tying it through 2 or more of the holes at the top. There are many different takes on this shape when you simply turn it upside down.